Morning, everyone. Welcome to another video. Today is going to be a little bit more theory oriented. Obviously, as you can tell, I have a very different angle today. I am, it's pretty dreary today, so I am using the best I can, my best resources at hand to try to make this work. So let's kind of get into it. So today I want to present and talk about the doctrine of the three centers, the three gateways, and the three worlds. These are intrinsically linked and yet can be taken completely apart and worked with entirely on their own. So first, the three centers, second, the three gateways, and third, the three worlds. Three worlds theory exists in most kind of animistic, shamanic, traditional cultures. It is made up of the underworld, the overworld, and the middle world. The three centers are made up of, I'll stand for this piece, the belly center, the heart center, and the brain center. We can see these represented, these three centers in the physical body, represented as bowls almost. The bowl of the pelvis, the bowl of the diaphragm, separating the thoracic cavity, and the bowl of the skull holding the brain center, the brain. These are also areas which follow and have a tremendous amount of nervous system relationship. A lot of recent scientific evidence has shown that our nervous system and our brain is not the only brain, so to speak. We have openings in our lower center and our cardiac center, as well as in our brain. And it's important to remember that our spinal column is one long extension of the brain. Okay, and so in that way, we have to remember that all the worlds, all the centers are linked by the central column of the spine. There's so much religious symbolism, there's so much metaphorical poetry, there's so much rich imagery to pull apart if we explore that doctrine. Enough that like it doesn't really matter what your tradition is, you can find it there probably. So thought, word, and deed is a nice way to focus on it, a nice way to relate to it. And I'll bring us last into the three gateways doctrine, because this one is kind of specifically mine. And it comes from my relationship to the three centers and the three worlds. And understanding that the three centers effectively act as our doorways into the three worlds. So the body center, the lower center, is related to a gateway. Everything is a gateway. And every gateway, as one very trippy experience of meditation for me showed me, every doorway is a mouth. So the gateway of death, leading to the truth of vitality, right? So death and vitality entered into and emerged from the same point, the same place. The middle center, the gateway of silence, leading to connection or relationship, right? So in silence, I find the truth of connection, find the truth of relationship. And in the brain is the gateway of annihilation, annihilation of the ego in particular, leading to wisdom, right? So in the annihilation of the small conception of the self, we lead to this, or we arrive at this much larger conception of truth, wisdom, hope, for higher levels of understanding emerge when the small self goes away. As you can clearly see, there's a negation or a negative aspect and a positive aspect of each doorway, each gateway. If you take it upside down, there's a negative pole and a positive pole, right? What we would define typically as like light and darkness. I typically use the word shadow for a number of various reasons that I probably shouldn't bother getting into too much. I bring this up because we talk a lot about various different tools and, particularly in the New Age community, everybody's got their thing that they do, right? Everybody's got, it's musical instruments or crystals or herbs or, animal medicine, any of these sorts of like various technologies, right? Everything is a technology. But the body is our first technology. And so I tend to start with the body and say, if I can make it work here with nothing, no added, kind of bells and whistles, then I can make it work with any other technology added. So I try to start with the most pared down perspective I can. The body center can be seen as, we can use the triune brain model to superimpose and overlap with this three centers model, right? So traditionally, and this is not perfect thinking, right? This is actually fairly flawed thinking in its basics, or I guess like as we start to analyze it more, but it's useful for us to conceptualize of ourselves as a multiplicitous being, right? So the triune brain model breaks down our thinking into the lizard brain, the mammalian brain, and the higher form brain, the higher functioning brain, the neocortex, right? The stuff up here. So the brain stem, the cortex, and the neocortex. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of reading you can do about this. The book is escaping me, but combat or conflict, it's going to come to me at some point. Sorry about that. Effectively, as we explore that triune brain model, we can understand our lower center, our middle center, and our upper center as kind of the expanded hologram of that model, right? So the lizard brain, the lizard mind, the lower self, the animistic kind of like, I'm just here to survive, I'm here to fight, I'm here to breed, I'm here to eat, I'm here to survive, and also to to reproduce, right? And those sort of move in tandem. Can be viewed as the lower complex, the lower center complex. As we get more granular in our study and move more toward like a chakra model, we see those broken down into various needs, or various centers, right? So maybe that might be actually 2 or 3 centers that makes up that lower center complex, as I understand it, in this model of the 3 centers. The middle center, is essentially our mammalian brain. And so this is where we start getting into the truth of we are social animals, right? We are animals that are interested in relationship and connection, play, joy, love, all of those things that make us feel good, right? They make us feel good because of that great ape psychology that exists in this middle center. I view very much, if we want to, just use this opportunity as the legs are connected to the lower center, the hands are connected, or the arms are connected to the middle center, just as a way of giving us a fully aligned body cosmology. And then as we get up to the neocortex, this is where we start getting into the higher modes of thought, accessing into maybe like what the Greeks would refer to as the world of forms, the ideals of things, right? The really embracing a thought form. It's also worthwhile maybe to consider, just for the archetype, if there's this kind of like lower, kind of animalistic framework for our lower center, this upper center can be kind of viewed as like an angelic framework, a higher plane of existence that is incarnating here, which is, it challenges our conceptions of reality, right? So it's more trying to give you a poetic sensibility to be able to understand the idea that, like, the stuff that goes on up here, the ideal world, the world of forms, the ideas that we have, the theories that we can develop about reality are not fully reality. It requires our heart and our body to manifest them, but our mind can create such rich fantasy. And it's important that we continue to develop that imagination, creativity, and exploration of the depths of our thoughts. The way that we explore this, then, so now if we continue to track the three centers, the three gateways, and the three worlds, right? The lower center, the animalistic center, the instinctual center. Instinct requires us to recognize our own mortality and the mortality of other things, because life requires life, no matter what the form. So if I'm going to eat, something else has to die. And so in order for me to embrace my vitality, I have to be able to kill something. That's a hard truth. It requires us to descend into the underworld, which is a very traditional spiritual practice. Most traditional spiritualities have some descent into the underworld kind of built into their methodologies. As modern practitioners of spirituality, we master the technique without necessarily trying to ascribe values one way or the other to it. It's just a truth. We have to be able to descend into the underworld and draw up power for ourselves to be able to continue our lives. Right? This is the truth of a tree that gathers nutrition from the ground in order to be able to grow higher. This is the truth of an animal that has to kill another animal in order to be able to eat. Whatever it is, there is this descent into darkness, into shadow, in order to rise higher to the light. This can be a scary place. This can be a scary truth. Our instinctual nature, our lower emotions, our sexuality, our rage, our anger, our fears, our doubts, all of those things can be very visceral, very powerful, and they can have huge lasting effects on our existence. All right. So that's kind of what I mean by three worlds, three centers, three gateways, is that they help us to be able to embrace the corresponding aspect. So in the middle center, the middle world, We can see not in the canopy, not in the root structure of the great tree, but now in the trunk. The trunk is the part of the tree that we can see, right? So we can imagine, in the Chinese tradition, they refer to it as the Middle Kingdom. In the Norse tradition, they refer to it as Midgard. There's this idea that here is where we are, right? This is where our material existence kind of happens, right? The overworld and the underworld meet in the middle, and we are the product. So that is necessarily going to put us in this kind of, transactional, commercial kind of, relationship with others. There's this kind of play and development of relationship, and so in that we find the importance of connection. Connection is something that is so easy to make an active aspect of work. But the deeper we go into connection with others, we find it to become a very loud process. Lots of chattering, lots of manipulation, lots of, kind of making people, follow a maze, lots of using our words and our thoughts and our feelings in order to get something. However, the truth of relationship is actually a much more receptive, much more kind of gentle and equal, kind of equalizing force. So, in order to really connect with another, we have to not just be able to speak well, but we have to be able to listen well. Seek not to be understood, but to understand. Right. And in that truth, we find the importance of truly, actively listening. But at the heart of listening is a silence. And this is where I find the Buddhist conception of meditation in all of its forms to be deeply important, because meditation effectively is our gateway into listening well and into embracing and being with silence as an aspect of deep transformative work. Can I be with silence in a way that will transform me into a more receptive partner in conversation, right? Noise or music is not all noise, right? It is the silence between the beats. One of my first kind of karate mentors, when he was teaching me, kind of the secret of performing kata well, right? He said, music is not the notes. Music is the silence between the notes. And so when we train, when we perform, when we practice and we show power, we're not just the whole time, because that's chaos. Right? We have to be able to embrace the silence and the noise in equal measure, equal parts. And we find that in that ebb and flow of the breath, ebb and flow of the conversation, ebb and flow of the relationships, we find the silence is the negation of our noise, of our chatter, and the connection, the relationship, is really why we developed the chatter in the first place, right? Just like I don't kill to kill, I kill for my vitality. I don't silence myself so that I can be silent. I silence myself so that I can better understand, better relate, better connect to others. This upper center, upper world, overworld, again, the upper center, so the neocortex, the world of forms, the world of ideals, the world of ideas. This is the place where we really have to develop ourselves. We really have to push ourselves to be uncomfortable in order to master many ideas. I mentioned the dialectical spirituality model. being able to say, I embrace one side fully, I embrace the other side fully, and I merge them together beyond the place of ego, beyond the place of I need to control, that I demand these ideas make me comfortable. No, 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 no. The ideas are what they are, right? As the traditional teaching story goes, right? We are just looking in the allegory of the cave, we are looking at the shadows on the wall. But it is only in leaving the cave that we see the light for the first time, and we understand this world of forms. We understand that all chairs are one chair, right? We understand that all shelves, right? All shelves are one shelf. It's just many interpretations of a shelf. This is a flawed ideology in some ways, but it's a useful one in order to understand the truth of how the mind works. The mind seeks categories and definitions, delineations, and our understanding is inherently connected to our ability to delineate clearly without losing our goddamn minds. The gateway of annihilation is the embracing that there is no way ultimately for us to delineate effectively. At some point, it gets too big. At some point, it gets too fucking crazy. It's nuts. I remember the first time I really started to rub up against this gateway was in school, right? And I was watching some documentary on space, talking about galaxies, planets, stars, all that sort of stuff. And I remember just being like, it's too big, man. It's too friggin' big. And I remembered feeling the panic attack coming on. I remembered feeling overwhelmed. I remembered just being like totally out of it. Like, whoa, 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 this is nuts. And and I remember that same feeling with death. I remember that same feeling with silence. Same thing with annihilation. And that was really where I started to congeal the three gateways as that same kind of entryway into our inherent anxieties, right? That, oh no, I need to be able to control this. At a certain point, we have to step through the gateway of not being able to control it. And so, this annihilation of the small self, annihilation of the mind, is about entering into the things that are so much bigger than us that in order to comprehend it, we have to let go of the small conceptions. We have to let go of the individual ego. We have to embrace a much larger conception of reality. We have to be able to embrace that these things are, to our thinking, eternal. Eternal. We are just these little blips. And some of these concepts next to us are eternal and unending. But in doing this, in embracing within our mortal nature some of the eternal nature of reality, we enter into this wisdom mind that I don't need to control anything the way I thought I did, that I don't need to impose myself the way I thought I did. I need to position myself in a wise and intelligent way, that I need to embrace the eternal nature of truth because that is the only way I can, just to take a phrase from a construction site, work smarter, not harder, right? Like I don't need to slam my head against this wall anymore to try to break it down, right? I can find the right way to work with this thing. And this is our entryway into the light source. If the underworld is the truth of the 10,000 things that I mentioned the other day, the overworld, the world of source, of light, of energy, is our entryway into source energy, into the field of light that we all are a manifestation and a representation of. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical way, I mean that in a literal way. These plants behind me that give me the oxygen to be able to breathe are literally only here because they receive the light. The animals that I will kill and eat received their thermodynamic energy from plants somewhere along the line that received their energy from light. We are literally here because of the light. My sense organs, particularly the eye, only works because there is light to receive, to manage the spectrum of light. I can't see it all, but I can see quite a bit of it. I can see a fair amount of it. I can see more than some and less than others. But the eye specifically exists only because there is light. And so the hands connected to the heart, the legs connected to the lower center, the senses, in particular, the eye connected to the light. And so we embrace all this wisdom. We embrace this difficulty. We embrace the challenges that come along with the boons, the gifts, the blessings. Right? We embrace the hardships so that we can receive the blessing. We embrace the deaths so that we can embrace the lives. How is it that we can find the dichotomy of both sides and embrace at the center calmness of the knowing? It's not enough to see something. We have to be able to sit with it. I can know I'm going to die, but can I sit with it? I can understand that I should be silent in conversation, but can I sit with it? I can understand that I am a tiny speck, but can I sit with it? I can understand the importance of wisdom, but can I hold it and sit with it? I can relate, I can understand the usefulness of connection and relationship, but can I sit with it? I can understand the temporality and the importance of vitality in life, but can I sit with it? I can be afraid of the underworld, but can I sit with it? I can be afraid of this middle world, but can I sit with it? I can be afraid, God fearing, of this overworld, but can I sit with it? Can I sit with it? Your pelvis, your chest, your head, connected by your spine. The lower world, the upper world, and the middle world connected by the great world tree. The gateways, death, silence, and annihilation leading to the great blessings of life, relationship, and wisdom. We take the good with the bad. We don't ask life to be different. We make ourselves different so that we can be alive. None of this is meant to be easy. None of this is meant to be hard. It just is what it is. As those of us who find ourselves on a spiritual path, ourselves on a spiritual path, we know that it is our only and highest mission to sit with each other, to stand with each other, to usher each other through these gateways of transformation, initiation, and death. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. I don't give you a pill to make you better. I say, I'm sorry, it's hard. I remember when it was hard. It's hard for me too. It won't make you better. It won't make it easier. It won't make it go away. But it'll remind you that you're not alone. This work of spiritual development, personal development, physical development is not easy work, but none of you are alone. Even if you were the last person alive, you would not be alone. You are always connected to the ancestors. You are always connected to the love which brought you into being from people you will never meet. I'm going to say this because Biz told me to try to remember to do it. If you liked today's video talking about the three centers, the three worlds, and the three gateways, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm sure, very few of you have made it this far, but if you have, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate it. I love your feedback. Love your thoughts about these topics in particular. Hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. See you soon.